July 25th, 2025, a day that will be remembered as a turning point in modern history. The Trump White House, already a pressure cooker, is rocked by a single, world-shaking phone call. An aide bursts into the Oval Office, interrupting a high-level meeting, his face ashen, voice trembling with urgency. The news is staggering. China is dumping all its U.S. Treasury bonds, unleashing a shockwave through global markets. The financial world is in free fall. Panic spreads like wildfire across trading floors from New York to Hong Kong. Beijing has pulled the trigger on economic warfare, escalating tensions to a level unseen in decades. President Trump's reaction is instant and explosive, his anger barely contained. He slams his fist on the resolute desk, the sound echoing through the halls of power. "They wouldn't dare!" he bellows, his fury filling the room and sending a chill through his advisors. To Trump, this isn't just about economics. It's a personal affront, a direct challenge to his authority and America's dominance. He'd wielded tariffs like a hammer, believing American strength could bend the world to his will. Now, China has answered with a financial nuclear option, detonating uncertainty across the globe. Reports pour in: Tokyo, London, New York. Markets are crashing in real time, the world economy teetering on the edge. The Dow futures plummet before Wall Street even opens. The dollar nosedives, sending shockwaves through every sector. Experts had warned of this doomsday scenario. Now it's no longer a theory, it's unfolding before our eyes. The world holds its breath as the two largest economies spiral into conflict. Advisors exchange panicked, desperate glances, searching for answers. They know what's coming: skyrocketing interest rates, exploding borrowing costs, and a credit crunch that could choke the economy. The bedrock of the American economy, confidence in U.S. debt, is shattering, leaving investors reeling and uncertain. The president's fury is just the beginning. His anger is matched only by the uncertainty gripping the nation. This is not just about trade deficits or policy disputes, it's about power, pride, and the future of global leadership. It's a fundamental reshaping of the global order, unfolding in real time, with every nation watching and waiting. The stability that made U.S. debt the world's safest investment is gone, replaced by fear and chaos. The storm has only begun. The world braces for what comes next, as uncertainty darkens the horizon. The White House scrambles for answers as the world watches, every move under a global microscope. The economic war is on. Every headline, every handshake, every decision now carries historic weight. The president's rage sets the tone for what comes next. The world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher. To understand this crisis, you have to understand Trump's worldview. He sees trade as a zero-sum game. America wins or it loses. For years, he's blamed China for lost jobs and shuttered factories. His answer: tariffs. Attacks on Chinese goods, meant to force jobs back to the U.S. Tariffs, to Trump, are more than policy. They're a weapon. The latest round, just weeks ago, hit nearly every Chinese import. It was meant to force Beijing to the table, to make them bend. Supporters called it economic patriotism. Critics warned it would backfire. Economists argued tariffs hurt American consumers and spark retaliation. Trump dismissed the warnings. He believed America held all the cards, but China just called his bluff. The high-stakes gamble has triggered a financial earthquake. The belief that China needed the U.S. more than the reverse is now in question. The trade war has become something far more dangerous. The next move belongs to Beijing. China's response is swift, calculated, and absolutely devastating. Instead of retaliating with more tariffs, they unleash their most powerful weapon, dumping over $1 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds onto the global market in a single, coordinated move. They do it loudly and publicly, ensuring that the world's financial markets are gripped by maximum panic and uncertainty. The message is unmistakable: attack us, and we'll strike at the very heart of your financial system. The market is instantly flooded with U.S. debt. Bond prices plummet, and interest rates soar to levels not seen in decades. The so-called nuclear option is no longer just a theory, it's now a terrifying reality. The world's confidence in U.S. debt, once considered unshakable, is suddenly on the brink. The dollar's status as the global reserve currency is under threat. The immediate impact is chaos. Bond prices crater, borrowing costs skyrocket, and financial markets everywhere are thrown into turmoil. Imagine your credit card rate tripling overnight. That's exactly what happens to the U.S. government, and soon, to ordinary Americans. This isn't just a problem for Washington or Wall Street. Mortgage rates, car loans, and business loan rates all spike. making it harder for families and companies to borrow, buy, or invest. China's move is a torpedo to the engine room of the American economy, threatening to sink growth and stability. The global financial system, built on trust in U.S. debt, is suddenly unstable, and world leaders scramble to respond. The world scrambles for safety, but in this storm, there's nowhere to hide. Every market feels the tremors. The shockwave is just beginning, and its reach is growing by the hour. The U.S. now faces a crisis that could easily dwarf the financial meltdown of 2008. The rules of the global economic game have changed overnight. China has weaponized its economic leverage, turning financial interdependence into a tool of war. The U.S. must now respond to a threat it never truly believed would materialize, and the stakes could not be higher. The financial war is fully underway, with both sides bracing for the next move. The world watches, uncertain and afraid, as the balance of power shifts before their eyes. The fallout will be global, touching every economy, every market, and every household. And for decades, the U.S. and China have been locked in a complex economic embrace. Americans buy cheap Chinese goods, China buys U.S. debt. This cycle fueled growth on both sides, but also created deep vulnerabilities. The U.S. became dependent on Chinese manufacturing and lending. China relied on American consumers to power its rise. Trump saw this as a one-sided deal. His tariffs aimed to break the cycle. But the economies are deeply intertwined. Pulling one thread unravels the whole tapestry. China's decision to sell U.S. debt is proof interdependence cuts both ways. The global economy's foundation is shaking. The partnership that built modern prosperity is now a battlefield. Both sides are exposed. The attempt to decouple has triggered a dangerous chain reaction. The world's economic order is at risk. The U.S.-China dance has become a fight for dominance. The consequences will be felt everywhere. The unraveling has begun. Wall Street is the first casualty. Markets plunge, retirement accounts evaporate, panic spreads, analysts are flying blind. But the pain quickly hits Main Street. Mortgage rates soar, car loans spike, credit card interest climbs. For millions, the cost of living jumps overnight. Businesses, big and small, face crippling borrowing costs. Hiring freezes, layoffs, and a looming recession follow. The U.S. government faces a brutal choice: cut essential services or raise taxes. China's financial weapon has turned U.S. debt into a liability. The economic war is no longer abstract. Every American feels the impact. The recession is no longer a threat, it's a reality. The government scrambles for solutions as confidence collapses. The crisis has come home. Inside the White House, Trump's anger is not just political, it's deeply personal, simmering beneath the surface and coloring every decision he makes. He sees China's latest move as a profound betrayal, a direct and public challenge to his leadership, his authority, and even his vision for America's future. They think they can destroy our economy. They have no idea who they're dealing with, he rages, his voice echoing through the halls of power. For Trump, this is more than policy. It's a fight for American pride, power, and the respect he believes the nation deserves. He rejects caution, dismissing warnings from advisors and demanding immediate, forceful retaliation. Freezing Chinese assets, banning companies, even cutting off financial ties, all options are on the table, no matter how extreme they may seem. He frames the crisis as a battle for economic freedom, a test of American resolve, and a moment that will define his presidency. Advisors urge restraint, warning of global consequences, but Trump doubles down, convinced that only strength will prevail. The president prepares to address the nation, not with calm, but with a fiery call to arms, determined to rally the country behind him. This is no longer just about trade or tariffs. It's a war for dominance, a struggle for the future of global power. Trump is determined to win, no matter the cost, believing that history will remember his resolve. The stakes have never been higher, with the world watching every move and markets on edge. The world braces for his next move, uncertain and anxious about what comes next. The White House is a pressure cooker filled with tension, urgency, and sleepless nights. Every decision now could shape the future, not just for America, but for the entire world. The crisis is personal, political, and global, a defining moment in history unfolding in real time. China's move is no act of desperation, it's a calculated gambit. Beijing sees Trump's tariffs as an existential threat. Retaliating with more tariffs wasn't enough, they needed to change the game. For years, China has prepared for this moment, building alternatives to the dollar, promoting the yuan. Dumping U.S. debt is risky, but the potential payoff is huge: a weakened America, a stronger China. The goal: trigger a crisis of confidence in U.S. power and accelerate a shift to a multipolar world. The message to the world is clear: China is no junior partner. Other nations must now choose sides. If China's gamble works, the global order will be rewritten. If it fails, the consequences could be catastrophic for everyone. Beijing is willing to take the risk. The stakes are global leadership. The world is watching. The U.S. China economic war sends shockwaves worldwide. Allies in Europe and Asia are thrown into crisis, caught between two giants. Global markets plunge. Safe havens are suddenly uncertain. Central banks scramble as the value of U.S. bonds collapses. If other major holders start selling, a global meltdown could follow. The post-war order faces its greatest test. Nations reconsider alliances, stick with the U.S. or pivot to China. The world is more dangerous, more uncertain. The dominoes are falling and no one knows where they'll stop. The global system built on trust is unraveling. The stakes are nothing less than the future of the world economy. As the dust settles, the world stands at a crossroads. Trump could escalate, freezing Chinese assets, imposing an embargo, risking a new Cold War. Or the pain could force both sides to negotiate a fragile truce. Either way, the trust that once underpinned the global system is gone. The myth of U.S. debt's absolute safety is shattered. The dollar's dominance is in doubt. A multi-currency world is coming. America's economic supremacy may be ending. This crisis is a warning. The global system is dangerously fragile. The choices made now will shape the world for generations. The future is uncertain, the rules unwritten. The world watches, hoping for wisdom, bracing for chaos. The game has changed. The stakes have never been higher.